You're about to host one of the most iconic events in the world next week. So what does the next 2 weeks look like for you?
It's busy. There's always something, and the event just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I never thought it could, but it just, I hate to say this is like 43 years, 43 Super Bowls. There's no comparison, even over the last 10 years. But I think that's an indication of people's interest in wanting to come together around big events.
Eli, the business of sports has completely exploded. If you looked at today's slate of speakers, sports owners, former players, you've had a front row seat to that at BVG. What's next for sports and investing?
Well, I think sports is very appealing to investors. I mean, it's a recurring revenue. It's recession resistance over many cycles. I think most importantly, it's a passion play. I mean, it's what it means to you, what it means to the community, your involvement, to your family, to be around that. It's an interest to a lot of families. And I think the idea that private equity is now getting involved in it, it's very exciting. It kind of gives the opportunity for a lot of people to get involved. The opportunity for family offices, and you've seen it already with the three kind of sales recently with private equity. 2 of the 3 involved some family offices getting involved.
This past August, of course, some of us know that private equity investments were then opened up for the NFL. Roger, I think for this audience, it would be helpful if you could just outline what that really means. What does that look like, this decision?
Well, we've always really treasured our ownership structure, which is really a single person has to have the vote. Getting into the private equity world it's limited to 10%. We have selected funds that will be able to participate in that. We have 2 funds that came in last fall. We have probably the others will come in probably sometime during this calendar year or the next. And I think it's really primarily for clubs to have some kind of a liquidity event so that they can either reinvest in the stadium, reinvest in something else in sports. We do believe in sports as an investment. We like to lead in a lot of things, but in some things we sort of like to learn. And so this was one that we were prepared to sit back and sort of look to see how does it work? Are there things that we can learn from other leagues in the context of their experience and help us shape it maybe differently? We did learn a great deal from that. So I think that was number one. Number 2 was I think we were in a position where, far enough outside of COVID, far enough outside of new media deals and also a new labor deal.
Manning Cast is a great example of different new media for the NFL. You're able to broadcast from your couch at home, Eli. What's your take on how that's changed the way that people are watching the NFL games each week?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of how the idea came along. I just retired from playing in the NFL, and basically my brother came up to me and says, "Hey, how would you like to sit on your couch, watch football, and make fun of me?" I'm like, that sounds amazing. Kind of put you through in the mind of the quarterback. What is going on in this situation? Should the coach be calling 2 plays in the huddle? What is the quarterback doing when he does this signal? What are the things going on during these scenarios? And try to kind of give the audience and the fans an inside look to what is happening, what should be happening.
How do you balance wanting to expand the fan base, but making sure you're also not hurting the traditional experience that big fans are used to?
Yeah, I actually think it's added a great deal to the experience. And a lot of our fans travel over to see the games. Now, 93% of our stadiums when we play an international game are actually fans from that market or from London throughout Europe. So I think we've actually learned a great deal about the experience in a stadium. The European fans, as an example, love to sing. And it gives us a chance, again, to reach more fans.
2007 was the first time playing a regular season game. We went to London and played the Dolphins. And kind of like you talked about in Japan, that game, the fans really didn't know when to cheer. They cheered at punts and any fight that broke out. That was like big clapping, which is normally, at punting, no one's really happy about that. And, you'd have a 3rd and 2 that you'd run to get a first down and crickets. Like no one's clapping at that or excited. And so, having, played there again in 2015, went to the Giants game in 2019, or actually 2022, and you know, at that experience, you saw, it felt like, you know, you were in Dallas Cowboy Stadium.
The business of flag football, is that something are there investment opportunities there? How do you look at that?
Flag football is something that is very exciting for me, just from the youth sports, and the NFL has been behind it so much, which is awesome. And I think they view it as an entry into playing tackle, but also just an alternative way to playing football and growing the game, and an entity in itself. The more kids you get out there, especially growing with girls and women, you see more high school girls teams playing flag football now, and so it's just more people, again, learning the game, getting around it. It's going to bring more eyes to your favorite teams.
As Eli said, where this is really magical is when you see young women playing football and giving them a chance to participate, particularly in those early years or high school years where they just find it incredibly empowering. A great quarterback, Hall of Famer Steve Young, actually went back and coached his daughters in high school, and he's almost weeping over it to see the experience of being able to share that with his daughters. So from my standpoint, with young women, our international crowd, we're Olympic sport in 28, which will be, I think, a lot of fun. And I think this will be something that youth sports will become a very significant asset class sometime soon. Yeah. Well, 32 Equity is essentially the investment arm of our clubs when we want to make an investment collectively. So we do that with, in many times, partnerships. Many times our partner maybe is something that we think is important to get a rights fee, but the real value for us was to participate on an equity basis. And we'd be able to invest with them and sort of realize that value if we can make it successful. It's a significant fund now for us, and I see it continuing to be a focus.
I think there's something special to the work ethic that comes with that. What do you make? Do you think there's a special sauce to being an athlete and opening a business? And then Roger, to you afterwards, what is the NFL doing now to help equip athletes to really be prepared or try out more of those if they're if it's of interest?
Yeah, well, I think athletes are more inclined to get involved, to speak a little bit more about business opportunities, to not only get associated with brands, but get associated with the business, business investments, and put their name behind it, put their real money into it, and feel if they can help grow that company, they're doing great things, will increase their investment. So it's amazing how that has changed probably in the last 15, 20 years. When I got into the NFL, no one talked about doing investments, no one talked about side deals, and it really goes back to what the NFL is doing. They have all sorts of things in the off-season, opportunities to learn about investing, opportunities to learn about media training, opportunities to learn about different things you might be interested in, real estate, and they're matching you up with great investors or matching up with sponsors of the NFL. So you make great connections, you get a great network, but you're also investing with legitimate businesses and real things, so the athletes are protecting their wealth, protecting their money.
They're incredible athletes, obviously, but at the end of the day, they are men that have very diverse interests. They are smart as can be. They're high character people. I would hire any of them. They're people you want to do business with, and I'm a big fan of giving them that opportunity.
What is one of the moments you're most proud of within your career? I mean, Roger, you started as an intern in the organization with the NFL. Eli as a player. You're still here. You're both very involved. What's the moment you reflect back on?
The position that the NFL has in society now. I think they look to us in a lot of ways, which is difficult. They have high expectations of us, but as I always say, we're fortunate to be in that position. We got to meet that bar, and so it raises everybody's game a little bit. It's really important for us to be aware of that and use that responsibly, and to make sure that we do it for the causes that are so important to our communities ultimately.